Chapter 18. It was a long time before Pierre could fall asleep that night. He paced up and down his room, now turning his thoughts on a difficult problem and frowning, now suddenly shrugging his shoulders and wincing, and now smiling happily. He was thinking of Prince Andrew, of Natasha, and of their love, at one moment jealous of her past, then reproaching himself for that feeling. It was already 6 in the morning and he still paced up and down the room. Well, what's to be done if it cannot be avoided? What's to be done? Evidently it has to be so, said he to himself, and hastily undressing he got into bed, happy and agitated but free from hesitation or indecision. Strange and impossible as such happiness seems, I must do everything that she and I may be man and wife, he told himself.
A few days previously Pierre had decided to go to Petersburg on the Friday. When he awoke on the Thursday, Savlik came to ask him about packing for the journey. What, to Petersburg? What is Petersburg? Who is there in Petersburg? He asked involuntarily, though only to himself. Oh, yes, long ago before this happened I did for some reason mean to go to Petersburg, he reflected. Why? But perhaps I shall go. What a good fellow he is and how attentive, and how he remembers everything, he thought, looking at Savlik's old face, and what a pleasant smile he has. Well, Savlik, do you still not wish to accept your freedom? Pierre asked him. What's the good of freedom to me, your excellency? We lived under the late count, the kingdom of heaven be his, and we have lived under you too, without ever being wronged. And your children? The children will live just the same. With such masters one can live. But what about my heirs? Said Pierre. Supposing I suddenly marry, it might happen, he added with an involuntary smile.
If I may take the liberty, your excellency, it would be a good thing. How easy he thinks it, thought Pierre. He doesn't know how terrible it is, and how dangerous. Too soon or too late, it is terrible. So what are your orders? Are you starting tomorrow? Asked Savlik. No, I'll put it off for a bit. I'll tell you later. You must forgive the trouble I have put you to, said Pierre, and seeing Savlik smile, he thought, but how strange it is that he should not know that now there is no Petersburg for me, and that must be settled first of all. But probably he knows it well enough and is only pretending. Shall I have a talk with him and see what he thinks? Pierre reflected. No, another time. At breakfast, Pierre told the princess, his cousin, that he had been to see Princess Mary the day before and had there met, whom do you think? Natasha Rostova. The princess seemed to see nothing more extraordinary in that than if he had seen Anna Semenovna. Do you know her? Asked Pierre. I have seen the princess, she replied. I heard that they were arranging a match for her with young Rostov. It would be a very good thing for the Rostovs, they are said to be utterly ruined.
No, I mean, do you know Natasha Rostova? I heard about that affair of hers at the time. It was a great pity. No, she either doesn't understand or is pretending, thought Pierre. Better not say anything to her either. The princess too had prepared provisions for Pierre's journey. How kind they all are, thought Pierre. What is surprising is that they should trouble about these things now when it can no longer be of interest to them. And all for me. On the same day, the chief of police came to Pierre, inviting him to send a representative to the faceted palace to recover things that were to be returned to their owners that day. And this man too, thought Pierre, looking into the face of the chief of police. What a fine, good-looking officer, and how kind. Fancy bothering about such trifles now. And they actually say he is not honest and takes bribes. What nonsense! Besides, why shouldn't he take bribes? That's the way he was brought up, and everybody does it. But what a kind, pleasant face, and how he smiles as he looks at me. Pierre went to Princess Mary's to dinner.
As he drove through the streets past the houses that had been burned down, he was surprised by the beauty of those ruins. The picturesqueness of the chimney stacks and tumble-down walls of the burned-out quarters of the town, stretching out and concealing one another, reminded him of the Rhine and the Colosseum. The cabmen he met and their passengers, the carpenters cutting the timber for new houses with axes, the women hawkers, and the shopkeepers, all looked at him with cheerful beaming eyes that seemed to say, "Ah, there he is. Let's see what will come of it." At the entrance to Princess Mary's house, Pierre felt doubtful whether he had really been there the night before and really seen Natasha and talked to her. Perhaps I imagined it, perhaps I shall go in and find no one there. But he had hardly entered the room before he felt her presence with his whole being by the loss of his sense of freedom. She was in the same black dress with soft folds and her hair was done the same way as the day before, yet she was quite different. Had she been like this when he entered?